in the scorching silence of the Egyptian desert, where the sands have swallowed millennia of secrets, one name still whispers through the ruins like a forbidden echo: Akhenaten. But who was this mysterious pharaoh the king, who dared to defy Egypt's ancient gods? And why does his legacy feel less like history, and more like a warning? What if I told you that hidden beneath the collapse of his reign lies a shadowy truth that scholars still can't agree on? A truth that could rewrite everything we think we know about ancient religion, power, and the strange forces that shape human destiny? Stay with me, because as we unravel the life of Akhenaten, you're about to uncover rare insights, suppressed mysteries, and connections that even most historians never mention. And the deeper we go, the stranger this story becomes. Akhenaten's tale doesn't begin with rebellion. It begins with silence. Born as Amenhotep IV, he was expected to be just another guardian of Egypt's cosmic order, a pharaoh who would honor the countless gods etched into stone. Yet even in his youth, there were whispers that he was different. Some described him as withdrawn, contemplative, almost haunted. Others claimed he possessed a piercing sensitivity to things unseen, as if he heard rhythms the rest of Egypt ignored. His elongated features, his narrow face, long fingers, strange proportions would later fuel endless speculation. Was it a genetic condition? An artistic exaggeration? Or something far more symbolic, perhaps even intentional? But the real mystery is not how he looked, it's what he saw. And whatever vision he carried inside him would soon erupt into the greatest religious revolution the ancient world had ever witnessed. When Amenhotep IV took the throne, Egypt was at its peak, wealthy, powerful, and devoted to a vast pantheon led by Amun, Lord of Creation. The priesthood of Amun had grown so influential it rivaled the authority of the crown. And here, the first hints of conflict begin to surface. Did the young pharaoh resent this imbalance of power? Or did he genuinely believe the universe was whispering something new to him, something transcendent? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear. Early in his reign, he began redirecting worship toward a different deity. Not a god of statues and temples, but a presence he believed pulsed directly through the sun itself, the Aten. At first, this shift seemed subtle. A new shrine here, a poetic hymn there. But soon, the quiet ripple turned into a tidal wave. Amenhotep IV changed his name to Akhenaten, meaning effective for the Aten, an irreversible declaration of devotion. The traditional gods, worshipped for thousands of years, were pushed aside. Amun's name was chiseled out of monuments. Temples were closed. And the Aten represented not as a figure, but as a radiant sun disk stretching down hands of divine light, became the sole focus of the kingdom's spiritual life. Imagine the shock. Imagine living in a world where dozens of gods shaped every detail of existence, only to be told overnight that all of them were illusions, shadows, misconceptions. The upheaval was cosmic, almost apocalyptic. But the next part will surprise you even more. Akhenaten didn't just reform religion, he reinvented reality. He built an entirely new capital city, Akhetaten, horizon of the Aten, on virgin desert land, a place untouched by previous dynasties or sacred traditions. No other pharaoh had done something like this. Why start completely from scratch? What did he feel in that isolated stretch of sand that made him proclaim it the chosen spot of a divine revelation? Some theorists believe he sought to escape the influence of the old priesthood. Others argue he sensed an astronomical alignment in that region, a celestial pattern we haven't fully decoded. And then there are those who whisper something even stranger, that Akhenaten believed he was preparing humanity for a direct encounter with the divine. As his new city rose, filled with open-air temples where sunlight could pour unhindered, he began composing hymns to Aten verses so poetic, so cosmic, that they hint at a spiritual understanding far ahead of his time. Yet what comes next may change how you see the sky forever. Because embedded in Akhenaten's theology was an unusual idea, that the divine was not hidden in darkness, not locked behind temple doors, but radiating directly through the sun. Light itself was the message. Energy itself was the deity. Some scholars have drawn comparisons between Atenism and later monotheistic faiths. Others note the striking parallels between Akhenaten's language and later religious texts. Was he inspired? Was he delusional? Or was he tapping into a universal truth too advanced for the ancient world to grasp? If Akhenaten was the first monotheist in recorded history, his vision didn't simply break traditions, it fractured Egypt's cosmic order. And if you think this is as dramatic as it gets, the next revelation uncovers a secret very few people know. Akhenaten's family became part of the mystery. His wife, Nefertiti, one of the most iconic figures in history, stood beside him in rituals with unusual prominence. Their children were depicted in ways no royal family had ever been shown before. Intimate, emotional, almost vulnerable. The royal art style shifted dramatically, abandoning the rigid, godlike perfection of earlier pharaohs. Instead, Akhenaten's world was portrayed with flowing lines, soft curves, almost surreal shapes. Was this a reflection of transcendence? An attempt to portray the world as the Aten revealed it? Or evidence of a secret belief system shared only within the palace? The elongated bodies, the fluid forms, the strange proportions. Some believe these artistic choices symbolized a transformation, a metamorphosis into beings aligned not with Earth, but with something beyond it. But as Akhenaten's vision expanded, so did resentment around him. The priesthood of Amun, once the most powerful religious institution in Egypt, watched as their wealth, authority, and sacred traditions were stripped away. Soldiers complained that resources were being funneled into sun temples instead of military campaigns. Even common citizens, who had prayed to familiar gods for generations, felt unmoored. The empire was bending slowly, dangerously, under the weight of its king's cosmic obsession. And this is where the shadows deepen, because the next chapter of Akhenaten's story is filled with silences, gaps, and erasures that raise more questions than answers. Records from the end of his reign become strangely sparse. Did he face rebellions? Was there famine? Disease? Did internal political forces begin moving against him? Some historians suspect a quiet civil conflict was brewing inside the very city he built. Others point to evidence of diplomatic neglect, foreign leaders writing desperate letters for help that went unanswered. Was Akhenaten retreating further into his spiritual world, ignoring the earthly responsibilities of kingship? Or was he overwhelmed by forces that threatened to crush his revolution before it ever reached maturity? What is certain is that something began unraveling, and whatever it was, it left deep scars on the pages of history. Akhenaten's death, too, is wrapped in mystery. No one knows exactly how he died or where his body truly rests. His successors moved quickly, almost suspiciously quickly, to erase his legacy. The capital city was abandoned. Temples of Aten were dismantled stone by stone. His images were smashed, his inscriptions replaced, his memory condemned. Egypt rushed back to its old gods, as if attempting to restore cosmic balance. But the question is, why such urgency? Why such total annihilation of his existence? Was it mere political practicality, or a deeper fear that Akhenaten had touched something forbidden, something dangerous, something that must be buried? And yet, his ideas did not disappear. They re-emerged centuries later, echoed in spiritual teachings across distant cultures. His hymns bear striking resemblance to later religious psalms. His focus on a singular divine source prefigures beliefs that would shape civilizations long after Egypt's fall. Even modern researchers continue to puzzle over his artistic revolution, his cosmic theology, his obsession with the sun. And the closer you look, the more questions unfold. Was Akhenaten a prophet ahead of his time? A madman lost in his own visions? A political strategist using religion as a weapon against the priesthood, or a mystic who believed he had glimpsed the true nature of the universe: light, energy, unity. But the next part of this story, the part we have not yet uncovered, may be even stranger than everything you've heard so far. Because buried beneath the sands of Amarna, the remains of Akhenaten's city still hold clues, unexpected artifacts, unusual burial patterns, inscriptions that hint at lost rituals. Some researchers believe that the most shocking revelations about Akhenaten are still waiting to be uncovered, secrets that may reshape our understanding of ancient Egypt and the very origins of monotheism. And as we continue to peel back the layers of this enigmatic king, we move closer to a truth that is not just historical, but profoundly human. A truth about power, belief, transformation, and the fragile boundary between the world we see and the worlds we sense. And now, as we step back from the rise and fall of Akhenaten, from his rebellion against the gods of his ancestors, to his bold proclamation of a single divine source, to the collapse of a kingdom unprepared for such a cosmic shift, we can finally see the magnitude of the journey we've taken together. We've walked through the burning sands of Amarna, listened to the echoes of a pharaoh who reached beyond tradition, and uncovered the secrets of a man who dared to reshape the spiritual destiny of an entire civilization. We explored the mysteries of his strange appearance, his revolutionary theology, his poetic hymns, his downfall, and the unexplained gaps that still haunt historians today. And through it all, one truth has stood out. Akhenaten's story isn't just about ancient Egypt. It is about humanity's eternal longing to understand the divine, to seek the light behind the world, even when it challenges everything we know. And if this journey has stirred something in your heart, if it has awakened a question, a memory, or a spark of faith, then this is the moment to respond. Right now, I invite you, yes, you, to take a step of boldness. Go down to the comments and write your personal confession. Share a short prayer. Testify about what God has done in your life. Let your words become part of a living archive of faith, spoken openly and without fear, because your story might be the one someone else needs to read today. Your prayer might be the one God uses to touch a soul on the other side of the world. And don't stop there. I am asking you, calling you to be part of something bigger than this video. Share this message with at least 10 people or more. Send it to your family, your friends, your church group, your coworkers, anyone who needs to be reminded that God is still moving, still revealing, still transforming lives. When you share this video, you're not just passing along content. You are carrying forward a message. You are helping spread God's word. You are extending His blessing into homes, into hearts, into places you may never see with your own eyes. Every time this video reaches a new person, it is another opportunity for God to speak. Another chance for someone to feel His presence. Another soul touched by truth, by history, by revelation, and by the reminder that the divine story didn't end thousands of years ago. It is still unfolding in us today. So don't hold back. Be bold. Be a vessel. Let this message travel farther than we can imagine. Because when God's teaching reaches more souls, lives are changed, hearts are restored, faith is reignited, and His light shines brighter than any king, any empire, or any monument ever could. This is your moment, your calling, your chance to help spread His truth. So write, pray, share, and let the ripple of God's blessing continue through you. The story isn't over. In fact, the next soul it touches might be changed forever, and that journey could begin with you.